I am very happy to announce that the Cafe Racer is done. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. So it has been a long road. I started this project in November of 2016, and it is done at this point. When is a vintage motorcycle really done? There's always going to be something that needs to be, the little things will always need to be attended to. I've got a couple of things I want to just tune up. I want to get the seat to sit a little bit better. I'm not going to make videos of that stuff. But I really wanted to thank everyone who has viewed all of these videos of the full documentary of the build of this bike over that 3+ years. Especially those who left comments and questions in the comment section below each video. Those of you that reached out and expressed how much you appreciated the detail that I put into all of these videos, thank you. Because it was my intention from the beginning to show that much detail. I really wanted to help someone that was on the fence about taking the dive into something this monumental, maybe from some perspectives, and have the confidence to just get in there and do it. And so thank you very much for expressing that to me. Every time I got that, it really made my day, because making those videos took a lot longer, and that's part of the reason why this bike took so long to build, is the amount of time to video each little thing and then go back and edit all that was really far more hours than actually working on a bike, to be honest. Share what you know, they say, and that was my way of trying to be of service to others, was share what I know about working on motorcycles, which I'm not the world's expert. There was a lot of things that I hoped to teach by just simply trying it for the first time myself in front of a camera. A lot to learn from that. So, which brings me to my first point here in my special announcement here. The whole time that I was building this bike, this table was sitting in the shop next to me, and I could look at it. What this is, I took an industrial arts class. Actually, I took several industrial arts classes when I was in middle school and high school, growing up in Fargo, North Dakota. And I had one particular teacher in one of those industrial arts classes, Mr. Kortan, Mr. Jim Kortan, who was a great teacher. He was always smiling. He was cracking jokes with us, and he was a jovial, happy character, but he was also a really effective teacher. One example, I vividly remember him gathering the whole class around one of the shop tables with a small Briggs & Stratton engine there with a magneto ignition, and he had us all make a chain around the table and hold hands. One student was holding their hand on the spark plug lead, and then the last student in the chain was holding the crankcase of the Briggs & Stratton engine, and Mr. Kortan was holding the ripcord, and he was explaining to us the high voltages that are made from that spinning magnet in the magneto ignition, and without warning, he pulled that ripcord, and simultaneously all of us leapt back around the table and laughed about what had just happened and the shock that we had all received. And yes, unconventional, and yes, probably wouldn't go over in a classroom today, but it stuck with us. We talked about it for days afterward. No one was hurt. What happened was, it stuck. It was a great lesson. He was that kind of teacher. So, the whole time I'm building this bike, I was thinking about Mr. Kortan. This was one of the capstone projects, it was the capstone project for 8th grade metal shop class, Mr. Kortan's class. I've had it almost 40 years. It still looks great, still holds up well. And the inspiration that guy instilled in me to fill my life with creativity, with working with my hands, working with metal, working with internal combustion engines, it's brought me a lot of joy, and I thought a lot about him when I was working on this GS 550 Cafe Racer. Which brings me to my next point. This project deserves a name, and guys will often name their custom-built bike projects. I am hereby officially naming this bike Mr. Kortan. So, if you ever hear me refer to Mr. Kortan from now on, I'm more than likely talking about the bike. To me, it seems like a fitting tribute to spend over 3 years working on something and then give it a name to pay tribute to a guy that spent a lot more than 3 years of his life sharing what he knew with us students. And as I was contemplating that whole tribute, and I realized there's a story to tell here. So I've been working in the background. You may have noticed the videos aren't coming out with quite the same frequency lately. That's because I've been working on a book, and it is now published. I'm happy to announce that Creating Mr. Kortan, Building a Custom Vintage Cafe Racer Motorcycle by Urban Monk is now available in paperback and in ebook on Amazon. It is available worldwide, and this one is a proof copy, so it's got this watermark on it. Yours will look like this if you order one. So this book is a memoir of this Cafe Racer build. It delves into my thought processes about why I built this bike the way I did, behind the decisions that I made, how I acquired the donor bike and why I chose that donor bike, and how I got the bike is an interesting story. It's in the book. It's also part memoir of growing up in Fargo, North Dakota in the 1970s and 1980s, and how in a relatively frozen, cold tundra type of location, my friends and I got into motorcycling and how that came about. And then it is a tribute to a great teacher who gave so much of himself and inspired creativity in me that, not only played out in my garage here or in previous garages that I've owned over my lifetime, but also played out in my professional life. It's a tribute to an industrial arts teacher and a defense of the industrial arts education in public schools. The book answers questions like, how did I come across my first motorcycle and get interested in motorcycling? It answers where the name Urban Monk originates from. That story goes back to the 80s. And it also talks about how I met Rodney from Allison Sales and Canvas, who did the seat, and how we became friends and how we got involved with craftsmanship and motorcycling. It's available anywhere that Amazon ships, which is pretty much anywhere on the planet. I'll put a link here to the page on Amazon where the book is sold if you are interested. Also, happy to announce that I have launched a new website to serve as a central hub for all of the events and anything going on with Urban Monk TV. So you can get to the book there, you can get to Urban Monk TV on YouTube through there, and you can also see what else I'm up to. And any events, like if I do a book signing or some sort of personal appearance somewhere, it will be there. Stay tuned to Urban Monk TV going forward, because I do have plans for additional projects, one at a time, but already working on trying to find a donor for the next great project. So I want to thank you guys for watching the building of Mr. Kortan, and I want to thank those of you that have followed along on Urban Monk TV on Instagram. And I want to thank Mr. Kortan and everyone else who has ever taken time to share what they know with others. It's what makes this world go round and what makes innovation and creativity grow. And it's no small thing. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you here on Urban Monk TV next week.